That is true. I showed him everything he knows, and that's not exactly how the conversation went. But for this cast, that's exactly how it went down.
It's official now. Everyone in YouTube, like it's on the record, and as long as we just keep on pushing it, people will just know that Nick Allen taught Scar how to play.
How to play this game.
And
called League of Legends.
Look at that. Gragas and Olaf being banned out.
And Rengar. Okay.
And Dominate. The Rengar needed to be banned.
Yeah, you called it.
Crumbs. Oh my god. Because Crumbs, as a top laner, for a long time he had been adjusting. And he had been sitting back in that top lane. Blitzcrank, it would be a great pick right now. Shen. Oh, Shen has
That's
to
a good
be
pick too,
against CLG. CLG will pick that up. But Crumbs had been adjusting for a long time. A lot of times in the top lane, when top laners have that teleport, they use it defensively. It's a reflexive thing when the enemy does something. But then he was using it offensively. He kept on teleporting in behind them, on a ward behind them to pick force fights.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Very aggressive, but this is scary because CLG, they have their Diana, and we had seen how incredibly strong that Diana pick is for CLG.
This is Dignitas on this side.
Running that CLG Diana, and we have seen how strong that pick is. Yeah, so blue side CLG. So keep that was very important for Dignitas to keep
absolutely
off of CLG, because we CLG, I think that Big Fat Diana is probably his strongest champion right now. And it's that same comp that they've run as a Zubu Blaze is very strong. So they keep it off of him. And we've seen Skara actually running the Diana as well recently. He's been very strong.
He likes those melee APs, man. He wants to live life on the edge a little bit, get in there and do some damage.
That's all. He just needs it to feel alive. Yeah. He can't feel alive unless he's playing.
It's like a gambling addiction.
But they get
I don't feel alive unless I lose it all.
They get the Blitzcrank as well, which is going to be really dangerous against CLG. And CLG, in response, they have the Shen already, which is perfect for their split pushing strategy. I mean, that is like their ideal pickup in most situations. But they also have the Orianna, and we've seen Big Fat play Orianna a lot recently. And then Loco Doco gets that Lulu. And having multiple shields, they have a triple shield comp right now. Loco, he's been playing a lot of Lulu. Lulu and Sona, I would say, are probably his two biggest supports so far. But that triple shield comp will allow CLG to be extremely aggressive about tower diving, which we've already seen Chowster likes to do a lot.
Yeah.
And still be okay. They'll be able to tower dive, pick up kills, and then get out safely.
Yeah, I think we're also going to see Vayne here probably picked. There we go. And I was wondering, Dignitas
Vayne's insane.
Yeah, I mean his Vayne is insane. It's his go-to AD carry, and Dignitas has to expect that. And actually, I'm a Cutie Pie was hovering on Ezreal, but I was like, well, I'm pretty sure the Double F wants Vayne, so maybe Corki is a better pick in that situation to do a little bit more of that long-range damage, stay safe, and not have to get up close to her.
Well, and it's the late-game strength of Corki. Corki's really strong in the early game, so can abuse that lane, and then pairs very well with Blitzcrank because you have the insta-kill potential versus both Vayne and Lulu, so that's kind of a dangerous lane for them. But Corki, he also scales very well into the game, and that's something that sometimes you don't see from Ezreal. If he snowballs early on, then he can, but sometimes his damage falls off. But here's the interesting thing for them is what are they going to do in the top lane? Because Lulu and Vayne, that's almost certainly in my mind going to be a lane swap.
Yeah.
Because Vayne is a champion that we almost always see CLG swap lanes. Lulu has the pushing potential. Vayne is able to shut down every bruiser in that 1v2, and then it also allows Vayne to farm early on. And they want to make sure Doublelift has an easy laning phase. And going against Blitzcrank, that's not it.
Absolutely. And I don't think we're going to see Aurelia out of Dignitas in this situation because of how bad Aurelia is in that 2v1. I mean, well, she's not bad, but she's not great. So there's better options.
She has some strengths in that 2v1, particularly with an aggressive jungler. But it seems they will go with Darius. And actually,
Darius is bad in the 2v1, isn't he?
Well, see, he has
I haven't seen a lot of
range
success.
farm with his Q a little bit.
Yeah.
But
a little bit, though.
Well, yeah, but Darius and Aurelia, they're kind of similar to an extent in that with a jungle gank in the 1v2, they can pick up kills very quickly. And so Darius, they can't harass him underneath the turret, which is one issue with Vayne. Vayne's very good at harassing bruisers underneath the turret in the 2v1, but you can't do that against Darius because the second you jump in to harass him, Darius's hook is longer range than Vayne's attack. And so the second that Vayne comes in to try and harass Darius in that turret, pull him underneath, pick up the kill, and that lane is won for you. And it's kind of, they have to be very safe because they will have the lane advantage, but if Crumbs gets one single kill in that lane, instantly it snowballs against them, and Darius will win that lane.
Yeah.
And we've seen, Dignitas likes that Darius pick. You good?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to think. Sorry, I'm a Cutie Pie was on Darius for a second, and I'm curious. Remember they used Darius mid?
Yeah, they did use it mid.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think if they would possibly do something like that.
Put
Probably
Star
not
in the
against
1v2.
Orianna.
Well, so the difficulty would be
Yeah.
Diana can run that 1v2 with the range farm from her Q, but it's going to set her way behind, and I couldn't imagine that they would want to do that to Scar. So
Yeah.
I think that they're probably going to be set up. Honestly, they might just both swap. Dignitas might swap in response to CLG, expecting it.
Yeah, you mean and just be a little bit behind just to compensate for the 2v1? You mean swap after the fact, or what do you mean?
They might swap. Dignitas has to make the decision right now. They might actually swap Darius bot lane.
Oh, okay.
And have Darius versus Shen bot lane.
I gotcha. Okay, but I mean, there's a lot of mind games that go into that. You're anticipating a 2v1, but they could fake it. It's really a deep strategy in the way that you decide where you're going to go in the beginning of the game. And, I mean, they might not have any intention of a 2v1, and now you've put yourself into a 2v1 by trying to compensate in the lane swap. So we'll see how that works out. Blitzcrank grab. Solid in this situation. We saw the success of Patoy on Blitzcrank last game, last match, and then recently he's been doing really well on Blitzcrank. And
this is actually kind of similar to what we saw earlier from Dignitas when the game that they actually lost to Quantic. It's switching out. They have an Anivia here, and then it was also a Shen. So not, that's kind of different. Or actually, the game that they won against Quantic, they had the Blitzcrank with the Anivia. But the Hecarim, it allowed for a lot of early aggression. I guess Hecarim's the only one that I'm going for, which is the same. But Hecarim from Dominate, he has movement speed to move around the map quickly, and then he's able to tower dive very effectively because of his W, the regen that it gives him when his team is all forcing a tower dive. So the tower dives are very strong, and we saw Dignitas being very aggressive to snowball an early lead against Quantic. It was just, as the game progressed against the Vayne, they lost it because Dominate would force fights, when Dignitas wasn't necessarily in position. And then also, Hecarim didn't really work with their strategy because they had a more defensive team.
Yeah.
And Hecarim was an offensive champion. So he would try and dive onto Vayne. Vayne would tumble away, kill him, and then turn on the rest of Dignitas. So now they have multiple hooks. They have multiple pick-off champions to try and, get kills and snowball the game early on.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to what you're saying about Hecarim there, because he was trying to dive into the back to try to do some damage in that backline to the AD carries, to people that were trying to hide out, but in doing so, he separated himself from the team, and they just collapsed on him. They just turned away from the rest of the team, turned back onto Dominate on Hecarim, and just burned him down really quick. And he just wasn't there in the team fights, and it made a really big difference.
And he needs his team to be in kind of his W AoE, because his W makes him so tanky. He heals so much, but it's from team damage that he heals. And so missing out on that team damage around them could hurt him. But they have a much more offensive team this game to go with that Hecarim. So Hecarim can dive in, force CLG into a position where they can't escape because he pushes some of them back towards his team.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have Darius jumping in or hooking someone. They're going to have Blitzcrank for potential initiation. Diana can jump in to set up a fight as well. So it could turn into kind of an AoE mess for Dignitas, where they just want to clump all of their AoE right on top of CLG, but CLG has a very good team at kiting with the Cho'Gath that gives them kiting potential, but also the Orianna and Lulu to try and poke them down some. So definitely some interesting teams that we're seeing, but I can't remember the last time I've seen Doublelift play Vayne and lose. So that's kind of always a scary thought.
Yeah, interesting thought. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't think I've seen it in a long time either. And it's really his mechanics. Like, even if he's behind in the beginning of the game, which is very rare for Doublelift, his mechanics are generally strong enough to carry him out from a deficit. And we'll see if we see that exact same thing this game. Should be very interesting. Also to note, no teleports in the game this time. So we saw the success of Crumbs' teleport in the last game. Very interesting that they don't have it this game. It seems like it was more of a reactionary response to maybe Hotshot getting teleport.
And there was a tweet out to us saying, I want to see CLG run their triple teleport. And that's actually something we haven't seen from CLG since Loco joined the team, but we haven't seen a lot of it.
Since regionals, I think.
It wasn't really since regionals that we saw that strategy.
Yeah.
Which it was a really cool strategy. I actually really liked it a lot. But so holding off on those teleports, it's a more offensive build for them. So they have multiple ignites, exhaust, cleanse. That'll definitely help them in fights.
Yeah, and last game we talked about how amazing CLG's level 1s are, so we'll see how that comes in this game. It looks like they might be just playing it safe, just sitting back, playing more conservative, knowing they got kind of smashed in that last game. And maybe they're going to change it up a little bit, maybe fall back into some of the older CLG habits.
And I have to imagine that they recognize that Dignitas knows CLG. After that last game, they were like caught out of position. They were caught unawares. Potoy, he's going to go for this hook. He's going to hook double lift here. There it is, the blind hook into the bush, forcing the flash right off the bat. So really smart play from Potoy. And a lot of times, some AD carries have a tendency to sit in that bottom bush, and sometimes you know it. And I guess he knows from watching CLG that double lift has a tendency to sit in that bush. So he goes for the hook early on. That was really nice. But I think CLG, they're playing defensively level 1 because they know that Dignitas has a really strong level 1, and Dignitas has to be ready after that last game. Dignitas has to be thinking, okay, CLG's going to try cheesy stuff on us. We'll counter it with a lot of wards and then catch them out of position. So they sit back. They're a little bit more conservative.
Yeah, really good of Potoy thinking that double lift might have been there, and that's the safe spot technically, right? You go there so you can see if they're invading.
Their team was there with them.
Yeah, and they just sit back, and they're trying to play safe, and in doing so, actually set themselves up to be grabbed and burn that early flash. And I mean, I wouldn't expect to see some really early ganks coming out of Dominate to try to take advantage of the fact that Vayne doesn't have flash.
This is kind of surprising, though. Chouster going red, and we've seen him go red before, so it allows him for some quick aggression. The red buff helps him, with the. Is that wrong? Oh, I thought I refreshed it. I'll change the overlay real quick. The red buff, it allows him to get some quick ganks. It allows him to clear the jungle pretty quickly, but he didn't get any help doing it. And so it slowed him down a little bit. You see Hecarim has actually a speed advantage. He already has his double buffs because the bot lane didn't actually help him get that red. And usually when you see a jungler take the red, they'll get a couple of ticks, but I'm curious what the reason is. I guess Doublelift and Locodoco, they just wanted to make sure they got into lane immediately and they can take care of this, or make sure they keep up the lane advantage against Blitzcrank. Yeah,
they are a little bit behind, just not having that flash. That's kind of a scary place to be. And looks like I'm a cutie pie a little bit late to lane, so he's going to be a little bit behind. And I think the key thing is trying to get some, of course, get some good grabs, but really just zone out Doublelift so he doesn't get to farm. And look at that. That's really exactly what they needed to do in that situation. Lulu goes up to ward and just pushing the advantage of having a 2v1 in that situation. Oh, and Locodoco gets knocked up. Just doing some damage, poking him down. They don't have sustain. They don't have heal other than pots at this point. So any of that damage is going to help.
And Dominate coming into the mid lane. Wow, that was actually a lot of damage considering that Big Fat just immediately got out of there. So just the real quick harass, and now all of a sudden Scar's in a good position in that lane. He's at the advantage against Big Fat, so he has to play a little bit more defensively. Later on, Diana definitely has the killing potential to take down Orianna, so that's going to be a difficult situation for them. But actually, no lane swap, so I kind of expect it from CLG. It's something that we see them do a lot, particularly with this Vayne Lulu combo. But maybe they were expecting that Dignitas would maybe counter it out some, or it would result in some sort of unfavorable situation. So definitely smart play from them. And now Dominate coming in the bot lane. They're going to go for this. He's moving. Potoy going to try and get that hook. The flash. Locodoco flashed as well, but dodging the hook. Locodoco barely getting out of there. Really impressive play.
We'll give that one to Potoy. He gets a freebie. Doesn't need to hit all the grabs. I mean, it would have been a kill, would have been nice, but it didn't happen. And but that's okay, because he's still good at those grabs. He'll land some stuff that'll impress us later. But yeah, really good that didn't happen. That would have really hurt CLG a lot in that bot lane. You don't want to give... I mean... I've said it before that Vayne is a pretty weak laner to begin with, so putting her at a deficit, putting her behind the enemy champions is going to be a really big problem for her.
And now we see Chouster coming into the mid lane. The Rupture, it's barely not going to hit on Scara, so they do back off. Some pressure from Chouster coming out, but Doublelift in a dangerous position down here. But he's actually done a really nice job of playing conservatively. He hasn't really missed out on any CS. It's going to push right back into his turret, so he's going to be safe there. The only concern is if Potoy hits that land. Oh, wow. That hook was as close as it can come. Doublelift barely getting out.
Yeah, I mean, a gold star for aim. He was lined up right, just a little bit short.
It was the perfect tumble, just barely getting out of range.
Yeah, absolutely, and good thing he did. And Blitzcrank continuing to put a lot of pressure. Chouster coming around the back, trying to be all sneaky, trying to get in behind there. Darius in the bush, no idea that Chouster's there on Cho. And there's the taunt going in on Crumbs, and then the knock-up. Crumbs taking some damage, flashes out, but he is slowed. Hotshot laying down some damage, and they back off. Burning a lot of stuff trying to do damage on him, and I mean that could hurt.
I mean, it didn't waste any. The only thing that they lost is the ignite on Hotshot, and now Hotshot's in complete control of this lane. So really successful gank from them. Crumbs being forced to use the flash just to barely survive. And we'll see. Shen does have an early advantage over Darius. Darius has great killing potential, though. He can really quickly snowball. But if Shen gets an early lead, then he can become too tanky for Darius to kill. And so that's kind of one of the counters to Darius, is having high HP regen, but also being just too tanky, where the true damage on his ultimate is insignificant, and then he can't quite get enough damage to bring you down with the rest of his abilities.
Oh my gosh, we missed it. What happened? Who knows? We'll just say that he went and he dove.
It looks like double lift he recalled, and the second he recalled, they just dove right.
But why was it way
Loco
in the
Doco.
back there?
They dove him past the turret, and then he flashed over the wall, I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
No, his flash was down, but he dove. I don't know.
We don't know. Well, I guess we'll never know. But yeah, that's really good. Another kill, or a kill
he must have been hitting the turret, and then Patoy hooked him over the wall.
Okay, that would make sense. But we have a little bit of a pause here as we look. Okay, let's.
Oh, he was warding.
Sick grab from Patoy.
So
I said he would impress us later, right? So we'll see how.
Coming down with the ward, or to ward. Patoy dropped the ward in that little bush there, and then just grabs him. Loco Doco doesn't have the flash.
Oh my gosh.
And he gets him as he's teleporting.
Pretty awesome stuff there. Loco Doco goes down, and a little kill for Corki. That's really going to help out, give him a little bit of an advantage, help it to stick it to Vayne. You don't want to let Vayne get farmed. That ends up being a bad night.
And we've seen Dignitas, their bot lane can snowball pretty quickly, so that can be kind of scary. I mean, they want to shut down double lift. That's like the #1 goal for Dignitas, is to not allow Vayne to get in a good situation. And the last game, we saw Dignitas repeatedly pressuring the bottom lane. Dominate coming down to the bottom lane, Crumbs teleporting into the bottom lane. So that constant pressure bottom lane is definitely a serious issue. Hotshot also, they got the kill before Hotshot was able to teleport in or anything like that. So now Hotshot, he has his ultimate. Once Lulu hits 6 as well, that'll be really important for CLG, but they should be safe in that bot lane from now on. But we'll see if Patoy can continue to pressure, because his Blitzcrank really is insane.
It is really insane, and Blitzcrank is a champion who, when he has an advantage, can really stick it to you, can really put on a lot of pressure and force you out of lane. And then the AD carry can really just freeze the creeps, just sit there and free farm as you're pushed away, really scared, waiting for your jungler to come and help out. And that's why, I mean, when you give an advantage to Blitzcrank, it can be really scary.
Hopefully Scarra's okay. He can get back in this game shortly. He was actually stealing some minions at the time, so we'll see if he actually takes them. I'm actually going to go back to see if he's already received these. No, he's been DC'd for a while, so like a full 20 seconds of the game, he's just sitting there DC'd, and they just now paused. They just now realized it. They're like, Scarra, you're kind of quiet here. But hopefully everything is okay, and we'll see what kind of pressure they can do. This is about the time in the previous game where we started to see some pressure from Dignitas, or even in particular when Dominate hits level 6. So that's kind of the key that CLG has to be concerned for, is when Dominate hits 6, he can use that ultimate. It's very easy for him to get kills underneath that turret. CLG has the benefit of the Shen this game, so the Shen will allow them to counter that out some, but it's going to be pretty dangerous. So hopefully everything's underway, but it's a lot of this game, it could come down to, because we know both junglers are really aggressive, it could come down to how much pressure is put on the mid lane from both of these, from Scar and Big Fat, and who leaves mid lane first and is able to gank with the jungler.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Hopefully Scar comes back soon. I'm lonely, and he'll be back. We'll see how they do. I mean,
Scarra, hold me.
Hold me, Scarra. I taught you how to play mid lane. Hold me. I'm kidding. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out for them. I'm a cutie pie. He generally does pretty well when he has an advantage. And he seems to be one of those AD carries where he either does terrible or he hard carries the game.
You kidding me? Cutie pie carries so hard.
I mean, no, he does. But when he doesn't, it's really just a poor display. And
honestly, I feel like Cutie pie is one of the safest ADs in the game, because he never seems to die early. Like it's
true.
Very rare.
Because he only plays Corki.
That's true. He only plays Corki, and he just Valkyries the hell out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
He can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is rather safe. I will give him that, and with the Blitzcrank
but
there
you're right,
too.
sometimes he is a non-factor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and he's a little bit late to the party, and nobody likes that. And I was actually going to ask you, where did Hecarim come from? Why is Hecarim rising to popularity. I know he got some buffs. His E, I believe, which speeds up his run speed. It used to be a slow, gradual build up into his max speed, but now it's more instant. You start at like the halfway point rather than right at 0. And since then he's seeing some more play, and actually on solo queue as well, I'm seeing a lot of play on him.
I actually thought when he first came out that he was going to be played more, and I actually thought he was going to be played as a top lane similar to how Malphite is.
I remember we had this discussion. I thought he was going to be a jungler, and you thought he was going to be top lane.
I thought he was going to be both, but yeah.
Oh yeah, sure he did.
Yeah, sure. All right, yeah, sure. Well, I mean, he has some really nice strengths. I thought he was going to be kind of like Malphite 2.0, except that he has more mobility than Malphite does. So he can run around the map, clear jungle, and also gank lanes pretty aggressively. And his W really makes him really tanky later on. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think maybe just people had forgotten about him for a long time, and they're just kind of checking him out. So they want the strong initiation that something like a Malphite gives them. Malphite was banned this game.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen. But they want that kind of strong backline initiation. They want a strong tank that has high sustained damage. But they also want the mobility because he likes to tower dive a lot, dominate as a jungler.
Yeah.
And so it fits his playstyle. We've seen some people play it, like High L9. He plays Hecarim. Someone has for a while for Orbit, or back when they were Orbit, now Quantic.
Yeah, I mean, so much of the game and jungling now in the current meta is controlling the map and getting that early oracles and just putting pressure on lanes. And Hecarim's really good at that. I mean, he moves around the map quite rapidly, and we see the champions that tend to do that do pretty well. So Nunu moves around, zips around the map. Udyr as well with that early oracles.
Neither team allowing the other to get Nunu, because we've seen from both teams how strong their Nunus are, both Chouster and Dominate.
Chouster last night.
Chouster, I mean,
on Nunu was incredible. The thing, Nunu's not very flashy, and so like it's hard to say like, oh yeah, he's being really aggressive, but it just, I mean, even without the flashiness of the champion, he was making some big plays last night as Nunu.
Yeah, it's just the movement speed that you give your team to be able to kite around early on, and the fact that before champions, or when champions cooldowns are down, or before they have are deep into their levels, he completely shuts down attack damage with his snowball, and that's most of the damage in the early levels. So we saw CLG abuse that. We saw Dominate kind of abuse that earlier as well. Dignitas was incredibly aggressive with that Nunu. And Skara, he's back in the game.
Welcome back, Skara. As he just goes right back to farming. What else is new?
Yeah, that's...
And Diana kind of fell out of popularity for a little bit. When she first came out, people were like, oh my god, she is broken. She has so much damage. And then she kind of fell off after, she wasn't played very much at Worlds. Was she?
Yeah.
What were the nerfs at?
I know you knew that. I'm just kidding.
No, I don't. I mean, I knew she was nerfed. I didn't know the extent of how she was nerfed.
Well, it actually wasn't that big of a deal, but I think people... It was funny because do you remember when everyone said she was the most OP champion ever?
Well, remember in the Korean OGN Champions League, Froggen played Diana with only playing her once or twice because he'd heard she's so OP.
And so everyone said she was the most OP champion ever, and she was. She was insanely strong. And then they nerfed her, and people still said she was OP. And yet they weren't playing her. They were like, "Oh man, Diana, she's really good. Insta-lock Orianna."
Yeah, I mean, she fits certain team comps, and you have to be able to protect her and not let her get burned down super quick.
People are remembering when she's really aggressive early in the game, just what she can do. And Azubu Blaze and Azubu Frost, both of them really have shown a lot of the world what that Diana pick can do in that mid lane. So, I mean, she has so much AoE damage, and she sets up fights perfectly. There's another taunt from Hotshot, and Chouster following it up.
Chouster coming in, trying to make this play happen. Crumbs is trying to do damage, dodge some hits. Oh, Hotshot, a little bit scared. Flashing out against Darius, worried about dying. Here comes Dominate on Hecarim, knock him away. Crumbs is going to be a little bit safe now.
Crumbs lived.
Oh, boy. And Hotshot blew his flash. So
that was he almost got the kill on Hotshot.
I can't believe he flashed
perfectly by Crumbs.
Yeah.
Well, he knew he was about to die is the issue. He knew that he had full stacks on that Darius ult. I will dominate the exhaust as well, trying to come in, but it doesn't work. He backs off. He sees Chouster there. He knocks him away from Crumbs. We'll see who can win this exchange. Crumbs, he has his ultimate. Can he get the double dunk? There's the Shen ultimate onto Chouster, but he backs out of there, and now Hotshot is alone. He walks back into it. Crumbs is very low, but it seems they're going to win that exchange. In the meantime, Skara jumping onto Big Fat in the mid lane. Who's going to win this? The Ignite going down. Skara jumps in, picks up the kill.
Oh my gosh.
but CLG falling a little bit behind in that top. Double lift coming in for the kill into Skara. There's no flash for Skara. Oh,
there is a flash.
I thought he was down, but Double lift chases him down with the flash himself and picks up the kill there.
So I'm a cutie pie just doing it in response, pushing really hard into this lane, and that was pretty good play out of Skara and good mobility and good map awareness out of Double lift to come to the aid in that mid lane. But
I want to go back real quick.
Yeah, sure.
And just show that last kill with Skara leading and Double lift coming up in the top or into the mid, because a lot of times you don't see that the AD carry can get into that mid that effectively, so a lot of times you'll just kind of see their isolated bot, but he moves up. Very impressive play there. The bot turret taking some damage. Loco Doco dealing with Cutie Pie now, and Vayne is going to be moving down, so we'll see if Loco Doco can actually bait this in maybe, or get the slow for Cutie Pie, or on Cutie Pie to get Double lift that kill, but that blue should help Double lift a little bit, and the kill definitely kind of pulls them into that lane again.
Cutie Pie playing safe again like he does. And I was just thinking about that top lane fight with Hotshot and Darius and all that. And actually, Dominate, when he came in, he didn't have ultimate. It would have been a completely different fight if he did. And, that might have cost him a little bit. So it's a little shame as we catch up with the video, just working it, making sure that everything's good. But yeah, I'm actually rather impressed with the Hecarim play to this point. You can be really aggressive, you can really push people around, but you can also save your teammates, which we've seen a good amount now out of Dominate, which is really helping out.
And it's the mobility that he provides for him to just be able to run in that situation. It really gives him great counter initiation opportunities when they do ganks. So really nice play, and he seems to know where his position is. He's not pressuring the bottom lane because he knows Cutie Pie and Batoy, they tend to sit back and play kind of safe, and then they just get a hook and get a kill.
Yeah.
And so he knows he can for the most part at this point in time put pressure on top for Darius and try and snowball crumbs in that lane.
Yeah, absolutely. How are we doing in the mid? Skara up 15
get the
farm.
combo.
Well, let's see if they'll be able to do it. Chouster hanging in the back, just in lane, waiting for that gank, but doesn't get it. So Skara just backs out, and a little bit of a connection issue, guys. Just hang tight as we figure it out. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty even so far. I just don't think that Skara has been able to fully utilize the aggression of Diana. Big Fat, he's staying in lane a lot, which we expect out of Skara, and he isn't doing a whole lot of roaming. So with that in mind, I would like to see a little bit more aggression. Cutie Pie playing safe, just Valkyring out of there. It's going to be fine too.
They're going to be able to get this, but there's the ultimate. Wow, Big Fat, he just canceled Dominate's ultimate and Skara's as they were coming in for the kill. He canceled their ultimates with his own ultimate. Perfect play by Big Fat to survive there. They are coming down bot, but Dominate probably not going to find anyone for him. They're pretty low, but they do back off in time. So the pink ward, keeping vision there, but Skara coming as well, and we had seen Skara and Dominate just comboing that bot lane so aggressively the previous game. Crumb's still alone. It's a 1v2 up top.
Oh, and he flashes out, seeing just a hint of Chouster coming after him. And in response, Dignitas goes and is trying to take this dragon. They knew there was two top, and what a great opportunistic move by Dignitas to go in and take the dragon.
Yeah, so nice play. They have a 1k gold lead. They've been very safe so far. But you're seeing they're constantly kind of pressuring CLG. Dominate's been a little bit more aggressive on the Dignitas end, and they haven't really pulled ahead as far as kills, but it feels like any point in time it could just burst for them. But CLG, doing a really nice job keeping themselves in it, and there's always the threat that if the game lasts just a little bit too long, instantly Vayne turns over and just carries everything. So that's going to be difficult. They do have multiple ways of initiating onto Vayne. Both the Diana and the Hecarim should be able to put on enough pressure. Same thing with Darius. Darius tends to be an okay pick against Vayne, because in team fights, if Vayne just slightly gets out of position, you just pull her in and then she's dead. But it's still going to be kind of dangerous for Double lift.
It's funny, after the first game we were talking about how we have this all new North American scene that's playing all aggressive and crazy, and it's awesome. And then we have this game, we've seen
passive games from the Korean teams, but
absolutely.
Both of these teams, they've been trying to force plays. It's just the other team has been combating it perfectly. So neither team kind of giving up an edge right now. We've seen that before with some of the Korean teams in particular. Quick steal from Skara, able to grab that, but Hecarim is up top. They might go for a tower dive here.
And Hecarim with that ability to knock him out. There it is right there, trying to knock him out of the turret rage, but he didn't go far enough, and he's just going to get out of there. Hotshot will live for now. And it looks like in this mid lane, just bot coming up, trying to put some pressure, trying to take this tower. Chowster, oh, getting grabbed. Chowster, oh my gosh, you're tanky, but you go down so fast at level 8. And Scarra forcing the flash, just trying to lay down some damage as he gets out of there. But wow, I didn't know Cho'Gath could get killed that fast, and that just shows the damage.
Live that fast, with the Lulu and everything helping him out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and they have a lot of burst damage, and there's, they're still being aggressive, but the perfect counterplay from CLG, just barely surviving that situation.
Yeah, just rather normal stuff with just good, safe play. And I think that's a little bit more what we're used to in North America, just sitting back and farming and warding well, having good map awareness and playing safe. And I can understand this match, whoever wins is coming to IPL5. And so there's a lot riding on it. IPL5 is a pretty big event. Both these teams want to go, so they're playing a little bit on the safe side. And I completely understand that. This is kind of the mentality that we see at LANs a lot of the time, is people just, this is a big deal. I don't want to, make any mistakes. I'm just going to play safe in lane and not aggressive.
And as a result, the games tend to last longer at LANs as opposed to online.
But then also the teams that are successful in that early aggression, they gamble a lot on it, and if it works, they win. And we saw the teams that were really aggressive, like TPA, like Frost at the World Championship. They gambled and it paid off, and they were winning a lot of games.
And we see Chowster, he strikes first Oracle Blood, so he has it first. I will dominate coming in, trying to put pressure on this. Chowster's already used his smite, but using the feast as well. He's not going to pass it off onto Orianna, and dominate coming in behind. Maybe see if he can catch out Big Fat, but they're going to be able to take out this mid lane, so that's going to drop very quickly. And now, with that mid turret down, it's just going to allow both Scarra and Dominate to just roam around together, be pals, try and pick up some kills. Double Lift and Loco Doco are screwed, though, because there is no turret to protect them, and it's a 4v2 down here.
And here they come, Double Lift just kiting Batoy with his shield pop, now that passive. And here comes the ultimate from Dominate and Loco Doco. You can't go anywhere. You're going to get burned down pretty quick. And that lack of a tower, just like you said in the mid, it makes it so they can just dive onto CLG, and that's what we're going to see from here on out. More map control, more warding, and more aggression, as it's now safe to dive really hard in the mid and that bot lane.
And it's a 3k gold advantage for Dignitas, but Double Lift with really impressive micro in that situation, doing about the best you can imagine, taking down Blitzcrank as his final hurrah. So they are able to pick up that kill, but he gets a little bit of gold out of it. QtPie is definitely in a good situation, though. Their whole team is very strong right now. Sometimes Darius can fall behind early, and then he can be a liability for your team because you just don't have enough damage. I don't think that's going to be an issue this game because they have a lot of AoE initiation from the rest of the team. And now Scar and Dominate are coming top. They're just constantly roaming together. Hotshot, let's see if they can get him underneath this turret. Dominate, it looks like he's going for it, but backs off at the last second. But he still has to be concerned. Scar is here, and I think they might have caught him off by mid, but I don't know. There's no response. Chowster's coming up to see if he can maybe counter this.
They're going to need to move fast if they want to get this kill because, yeah, like you said, here comes Chowster, and here they go. Scarra diving in on Hotshot. He's pretty tanky, though. Tries to dash out of there. Gets knocked. Oh, my gosh. He's taking some damage, and the turret isn't enough to prevent that, and the turret goes down. So a kill and a turret for Dignitas as they slowly leverage their lead and start to look pretty good in this game.
And CLG right now, I mean, the last two games, they have to be really surprised by Dignitas' play because seeing Scarra and Dominate combo together is just insane. It's not something we've seen a lot of in the past. Scarra tends to sit in his mid lane, Dominate tends to do his own thing. So really impressive play. Dominate's always been a very strong, aggressive jungler, but this is definitely an interesting thing that we're seeing out of Dignitas. And CLG, they've done a great job of keeping up with it so far. They haven't allowed Dignitas to press them too hard, but all of a sudden, they get a massive gold lead. So 4k gold lead in just a couple of minutes span.
Yeah.
And that's just constantly pressuring CLG, just pressuring the dam until it finally breaks.
Yeah, and I mean, it might have been just getting those turrets down to be able to roam around the map and stop the laning phase to go and be aggressive. And you saw as soon as the towers went down in mid and in bot, now we're seeing Scarra all over the map, trying to make plays and trying to be aggressive. And that was what we saw in game 1 from Dignitas, and that's what we need to see more of in game 2 to see them take this game.
CLG is going for the dragon. They're going to be able to take it in time, but can Dignitas turn this around? Hecarim is not with them, so Dominate not with them. They will probably back off, but they see Darius in the mid lane, Hotshot just going to back off. So a nice dragon that helps pull them back into their that gold situation. Again, CLG, they want to hold off right now. They have good pickoff potential, so they can potentially get some kills, but for the most part, they probably want to just sit back, play kind of passively, allow Doublelift to do his thing, because we've seen a much larger blown lead with the Vayne against Dignitas, so they have to, kind of like their odds. It's only a 3k gold advantage right now.
And as I look around the map, Chowster has oracles, but still, look at all the Dignitas wards and the CLG wards. Look at the map awareness of both these teams, and they need to know where people are so they can be aggressive, so they can take risks. And Doublelift catching out Dominate, you run fast, but I don't think it's fast enough. Oh, and fearing him, Doublelift, with the Shen ultimate hotshot coming in on
Patoy. Turn this around, Doublelift, he's getting some kills. Now Scar's here as well, picks it up very quickly once he comes in. They needed that quick burst damage, because otherwise Doublelift was winning that situation. Crumbs also forced a flash in the mid, but a quick kill. Really impressive play. But Patoy goes down once again, but as long as they're getting Doublelift, they know they're fine. Yeah, but Doublelift did get a kill there. He's 2-2-1 now, 188 farms, so he's still looking strong. And that's the thing. He has the farm, and 2 kills, that's a good amount of gold. That's enough. I mean, it's starting to fuel his late game Vayne, and that's not what you want to see. You don't want to give him the damage to allow his mechanics to flourish and just dominate your team. If he survives the burst from Diana and Hecarim and can stay out of range of Darius, he's going to have more than enough damage to just eat through all of Dignitas. The question is, can they protect him? And honestly, when I look at their team, I would normally say the answer is yes, because they have, the Rupture and Silence from Cho is great for protecting the backline carry. We've seen CLG use it before, with Hotshot in that top lane. Loco Doco on Lulu, he can ult Vayne if he needs to. He provides a lot of separation as well. And same thing with Big Fat and Shen. So, they have a really great team for protecting it's kind of a protect the carry team. It's very strong at doing that. But, Dignitas, they have such a huge lead right now. They just want to press it, and it's going to be tough. QtPie chasing down Doublelift. He has that red buff. He's actually winning the 1v1 situation right now, when I would normally expect Vayne to win most 1v1s against most AD champions. Yeah, and I mean, the aggression of Dignitas, it's a good time to do it. Shen's ultimate is down. They can't, there's going to be no surprises. They can really push and put a lot of pressure onto CLG. And Chowster just taking out some wards that Oracles have given. We talked about it earlier. Is so important. Oh, look at Crumbs. Oh, a little bit out of position. By a little bit, I mean a lot. He's going to get down, burned down quick, 3v1. But man, that Darius damage making Big Fat a little bit scared. If he makes it out of this,
the rest of his team is here. Crumbs barely going to survive. He does go down. Patoy is here. Scar is here. Dominate is here. They can catch out at the very least Loco Doco. The question is how much more are they going to get? The flash from Loco Doco, he gets out of there, but Shen is still out of the way, and now Corky's joining up. So it's a 4v3 here. The Patoy, the hook just barely not reaching, but they are all grouped up. Shen's still in a dangerous spot.
Yeah, and we're just seeing some poke coming out of Scar, sitting back. Hotshot. I mean, you have that dash, you have some tools to get you out of this, but this is a terrible situation to be in.
He's going to get out.
But at the same time, he might get out. Yeah, is he going to run right into the base to, yep. Oh, no, he's looking to just get out of there. But, I mean, there's a lot of Dignitas chasing at this point and allowing CLG to kind of just regroup and decide what they want to do next. And he's going to get out.
Wow, he just walked all the way around their base. We've seen him do that with Nidalee all the time in the past. But Hotshot able to escape from what seemed like a perilous situation. The peril was too great, but he was able to get out anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, the tankiness of Shen, it's really hard to take him down 1v1, especially with his taunt where he can dash out. So you really need 2 people on him to try to be able to burn him down quickly. And in doing so, you're leaving yourself in a 4v3 situation somewhere else. And, here comes Darius trying to get Hotshot. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
There's the hook. He has the slow as well.
This is going to be a slow kill if this is...
CLG could be able to turn this. There's no hook anymore. He's able to get out of there. He ports back to his team, but they did lose that mid turret. So Hotshot, he wasn't able to port in for a fight, and Dignitas was able to take advantage of that 4v4. So they get the mid turret. They continue to build on that gold lead, and we'll see what they transition. But CLG, it really, the gold lead for Dignitas hasn't increased that much. And all the while, Vayne is still farming. Vayne actually out-farming Corky in this situation. So, even though Dignitas has this lead, Doublelift's keeping them in the game, and their whole team has done a really nice job of keeping themselves in this game.
Absolutely, and we see Dignitas kind of just grouping up mid, maybe trying to make a play, maybe trying to prevent this tower from going down. But CLG is just not in that great of a position right now. I mean, Diana on Scar is pretty big 3-1, 203 farm. She's going to get in and do a lot of damage, and unless you can burn her down quickly, you're going to have a hard time. His Zonia's is almost done. You'd like to think that maybe you can get something, you can make a play happen before he gets that, when you can still really catch him out. Never mind, the Zonia's is done. All right, GG, everybody. The game's over,
Well,
Scar.
the Zonia's is so key on Diana because it gives the disengage. Diana can dive in onto Vayne, force a fight, and then Zonia's out of there and not instantly die, and then get the reset. You get the cooldowns back on Diana, and that's so important to get to your cooldowns refreshed on Diana to get more damage. But honestly, watching this game right now, Dignitas has been so aggressive so far, but it's slowing down a lot, and that's in CLG's favor right now. And Dignitas, they don't have a very effective means of continuing to push this lead unless Patoy hits a hook. That would be brutal. Scar forcing a fight, actually. If they can force this fight, that is going to be huge for Dignitas.
And Dominate just doesn't know if he wants to go in or not. Patoy gets burned down really quick. There is the Hecarim ultimate. Chowster flashes out to be safe, and Hecarim goes down really quick.
Double Lift is too strong right now. CLG just turned this around. They need to take him down. Scar jumping in really quickly. The hook as well. The Crumb's ultimate takes him down. Corki actually picking it up. Dignitas, it looked like they had lost that fight, but they turned it around last second.
Oh my gosh, and Big Fat barely squeezing it out of there. And man, that Zonia's is pretty good. Hotshot taunting in, trying to get turret aggro going down on Scar. Scar goes down. I mean, Cutie Pie takes some damage, but not until after Orianna goes down. Hotshot not in the greatest position. Not sure where you're going, man. It looks like he's gonna go maybe. He's just scared, and so they're going to try to take this turret and try to get out. Chowster is pretty big, hasn't died yet, still has those stacks, and he's going to kind of beef him out of there after they take the turret. And pretty good situation for Dignitas. I was thinking it was going to be bad after Double Lift did a lot of damage, especially to Hecarim. Hecarim got burnt down so quick after he dove in with that ultimate, and you know.
Well, it looked very similar to the fights we saw against Quantic.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Game where they threw their huge gold lead.
Yeah.
And CLG, I mean, right now CLG has great wave clearing abilities, so Dignitas hasn't been able to push against them.
Yeah.
They were able to take the mid turret, but they can't push into the base for the most part because they know that CLG is just going to clear out all the waves, and they don't want to have to tank the turrets yet. They know that one lost fight would lose it for them. So Dignitas has to force fights outside of their base. And so they wanted to force that fight. Scar forced the fight, and it looked like Double Lift was going to be okay. But you saw, once the cooldowns were back for Scar, once he had his ultimate up again, he dove into that backline onto Double Lift again, and was able to secure that fight for them. And it honestly, it looked like that might have been a game-changing fight, where CLG just all of a sudden comes back to win it. And Dignitas, they pulled it out in the end.
Yeah, it was a really close call. I think if I was watching it right, Vayne tried to Diana out of the team fight, but the Zonia's timing was just that great that he was able to stay in, get the cooldowns back, and then continue the dive onto Double Lift, eventually taking him out. And that's one of the strong benefits of Diana, is her ability to dive and do an insane amount of burst damage. So if you imagine that burst DPS on someone not tanky at all, like an AD carry, like Vayne, they go down really quick. And you know, it makes you, it puts you into that mindset as the AD carry, like, I can't go in, I have to be careful, I have to wait for Diana to blow some of her abilities before I can feel safe. And that's not a good place to be in.
Loco Doco, great ward coverage from CLG. You have to almost imagine it's kind of overkill, but maybe they're preparing for a Baron. At the very least, they want to make it a slow push in for Dignitas, where they're going to have to clear out a number of wards. Shen is still pushing bot, so that split push can definitely work for them at this point. You know, we've seen the CLG split push, how successful it has been in the past. The question is, can Hecarim shut it down, or even just use his mobility? He's actually just going to run across, group with his team, and they can try and pressure this inhibitor, and it's going to be very difficult for CLG to defend because they're going to be playing on their toes. They're going to be playing defensively because they're constantly scared of those Batoy grabs or Scar jumping in. So they have to sit back and play defensively because they could just instantly lose against Dignitas.
Yeah, and it looks like Dignitas just doing a little inhibitor dance, just waiting for a moment to initiate, get a grab off, do something crazy. You definitely don't want to grab Chowster at this point. He's a little bit too tanky now. He's going to be able to CC a lot of your team if you do so. So Patoy's going to need to be really careful with those grabs. But it looks like they're just trying to stall it out a little bit, just play a little bit of the waiting game, just trying to poke down the inhibitor a little bit as they can, just trying to play safe. Oh, and the missed taunt on Scar, that would have been huge. And Hotshot gets grabbed, but he's a really tanky body, so he's not going to go down too quick. And it looks a little bit chaotic. They're just trying to do some damage. The grab on Chowster.
Ultimate from Big Fat. Dominate tries to come in and turn it around, and it actually seems like it might have worked, but Double Lift is still safe in the back line.
And And the big thing, Corki goes down, Lulu goes down too, but Corki, the AD carry, is down. Hotshot still up, Double Lift still up, so there's some damage, there's some CC there, and Scar is in a bad position. And boy, does this look like the Quantic game.
Yeah, this is really scary. They got a little bit hasty. Dominate getting a little bit low, and then the perfect ultimate from Big Fat. He was easily able to get them all low to win that fight, and because they were low, they weren't able to engage on Devane like they like to, and Double Lift was fine. And then Chowster in that fight, I'll actually go back and take a look at it because the fight was kind of spread, and take a look at what Chowster did, because he actually completely demolished Dignitas' back line, took down Cutie Pie in particular, which really put on a lot of pressure. They get the Baron, and that Baron regen is easily going to allow them to stall, at least for a little bit, against Dignitas. But it's going to be really scary for Dignitas right now that they don't let this game slip out of their grasp. It's just the perfect opportunity for CLG to come back.
Yeah, and it's going to make their split push strat that much stronger, and that is really what Dignitas should be worried about. With Shen there, that ability to split push is going to be really difficult for them to handle, especially with that Baron buff.
And look at them all grouped up on the side here. They're trying to split, but Big Fat gets the perfect engage with his Q. It's actually on Hotshot, and so it's a short distance for him to get that. So he gets the perfect ultimate, then Chowster runs into the back line, feasts I'm a Cutie Pie out of it, and is able to chase him down with the silence. And in the meantime, Crumb's trying to come in. They're all very low. They're trying to press it, but Scar, he's too low to be aggressive on Double Lift, and Double Lift's able to kite back effectively, has the Lulu ult to protect him as well, and they're able to win that engage.
It looked like that Hecarim ult didn't hit anyone, and if that's the case, then that's a really big mess up going on for Dignitas. I mean, the initiation on that Hecarim ult is really strong. So, I mean, really good fight for CLG. They played it really well. It looked chaotic, but really it was just waiting for Bitoy to throw off that grab and for Chowster to really intercept that and just get sucked into the team. And that allowed him to dive right into the back, right onto Corki, and really make Cutie Pie, push him out of the team fight, but also just take him out really quick with that feast.
And that's a really good point. You mentioned how Hecarim didn't really get anyone, and at the very least, it wasn't anyone worthwhile. So CLG did a really great job of splitting, and Vayne is just it's so easy for Vayne to tumble out of that Hecarim like we've seen.
Yeah.
And so once they already had Dignitas low, Dominate he was kind of scared. He saw the Orianna ult, and he was like, wow, we're going to instantly lose this fight, because it's going to be the Orianna ult followed by the Cho'Gath combo. And he decided to just initiate, because he was like, we just got caught out of position, and it was like a damage control thing.
Yeah.
But they weren't able to succeed. The turret's still up for Dignitas, but CLG pushing in. Dignitas, they actually are pushing down mid, so they might actually force this.
Yeah, I don't know if they can be able to handle it. That Baron buff is pretty strong. I don't know. After that team fight, Double Lift is looking amazing. 5-3-4, 268 farm. And you mentioned earlier, Double Lift doesn't lose games as Vayne. His mechanics pull him through no matter how bad of an early start they had. Not to say that they had a bad early start, but I mean, it went pretty even. And so Double Lift is going to have the game that he wants to have. And in that team fight, he got to sit in the back and just put out all that sustained damage. And that was a really big issue for Dignitas. I don't know if they're going to be able to get to the back and get him and save him, especially with that Lulu ult there to help.
Well, and you also have to consider, who are they going to pick off with Patoy, because they have such tanky frontline champions now, it might not be worthwhile.
And Crumb's getting caught out. It looks like he's probably going to go down
into the taunt.
And Crumb's just doing a little bit of damage there and running away, but we'll see if it's enough. Looks like Dignitas is going to be there to help clean up if they over pursue. And looks like they're just playing it a little bit safe, not going too aggressive there. But yeah, almost got caught out by Dignitas trying to make something happen in that mid lane. Almost cost them huge, but they're just going to fall back. They know that Baron buff is up and how scary that can be.
And now CLG barreling down that mid lane. They know that Dignitas isn't quite in position. They had to recall. Are they just going to tank it? Chowster, Hotshot actually moving in. He has the armor. He's getting the shields from both Lulu and Orianna, and then he forces the engage onto Crumbs. There's the Orianna ultimate pulling him back. Crumbs is still okay, but they get the turret, and now they can push in for this inhibitor, and I'm not sure that Dignitas can force their fight into it. They need to be careful, because they need to make sure that they hit Double Lift. If they can grab Double Lift, then that could be it. Dignitas could just push in for maybe for one inhibitor and maybe enough to end the game. But if CLG keeps Double Lift alive, they'll be in great control in this fight.
Yeah, we're at pretty high levels now, so the death time is a really long time. Chowster gets grabbed, trying to get Bird down. He's pretty tanky. Dominate finally goes in. The Oriana helping out too. The knock-up coming out of Chowster, and oh my gosh, Hecarim goes down. Blitzcrank goes down. Darius laying down some pain, though. Double of having to flash out. Oh, and the pursuit from Skara. Holy smokes, that turned around pretty quick. And that Diana damage really helping out. The two people dealing out all the damage are still alive and looking pretty healthy, and that's scary for CLG.
And it's when Dignitas is able to force the fight, but look at this. Skara and PewDiePie, they're going for the inhibitor. Hotshot is as well, so he's coming in right behind Dignitas. They don't have the means to deal with it. The question is, can he get out? Can he take it fast enough and then get out? Because Patoy, he's pretty close to coming down. He's dropping it pretty quickly. They're going to be able to get their inhibitor, but if Hotshot goes down, that could set up a 4v5 situation for Dignitas, and that could be devastating. They get the inhibitor, they back off. One last attack from PewDiePie. Hotshot trying to finish it off, but he knows that the rest of Dignitas, they're going to be following pretty shortly, and it seems he's going to be able to get out of there. So Hotshot gets out of there. He exchanges inhibitors. Perfect play from Hotshot.
Yeah, an inhib for Dignitas, and now going for that red buff and blue buff of their opponents. That's pretty good. Taking those objectives, controlling those buffs are still vital even this late into the game. And Hotshot trying to get away, but oh my gosh, the grab and the knock-up. You're not going to do a lot of damage, Blitz, but here comes Hecarim. He knows how to do some damage, and he's going to lay it down on Hotshot. Let's see if he's going to get away.
Yeah, he's definitely stuck here. I'm a PewDiePie, has the Valkyrie up, has the red buff, and Dominate is chasing him down. So it's kind of slow to take him down. It's stalling Dignitas a little bit here, but definitely losing Hotshot is going to put them behind. So we'll see if Dignitas can push anything in this time. It's a full 60 minutes. PewDiePie needs to go back. He needs to heal and get some mana by. But honestly, I think that's going to stall enough because PewDiePie has to go back. It takes about, 40 seconds, like 30 to 40 seconds to get across the entire map. So they're going to be getting across the map as he's respawning. So it's not going to hurt him that much. And he did get the inhibitors. So that was definitely a big bonus for CLG. So they're going to be safe.
It looks like they're going, just grouping up mid, knowing it's a 4v5, maybe try to take something. I wonder how long it is till the Baron. I wish we knew, but we don't. But I think it's probably soon as I see Dignitas start to head down there. Could be wrong. Scar starts to back. Looks like he's going to buy. But really, Dignitas is grouping in the mid, knowing they have a little bit of advantage. And they have some pretty strong team fights. That Hecarim initiation is really strong, and the ability for Scar to dive in and do a bunch of damage can be frightening. However, CLG at this point is pretty tanky. Yeah. Shen is ridiculous, and Cho'Gath too. And even I was surprised by Vayne's tankiness, but she does have that magic resist, so that's going to help out too.
And then Lulu, the shields, the ultimate. But the real thing is that if Dignitas is able to force the initiation, if they're the aggressors in the fights, then they win those fights. And you saw that the previous fight. Yeah. When they forced the engage, Chowster was hooked back by Patoy, and he almost went down immediately, and then Lulu had to use the ultimate on Chowster as opposed to on Vayne. So ulting Cho'Gath in that fight, it meant that Vayne wasn't quite as tanky as Doublelift had been in the previous fights, and then Dignitas, they were in the situation where they just all dove right on top of CLG, and it was just this massive AoE mess where they just rushed them down. And it was very effective. So PewDiePie was safe in the back line. He was able to get damage. That was another thing, was that PewDiePie wasn't instantly killed like in the previous fight. And now Dignitas, they're waiting off to the side. They might engage behind CLG. CLG, it looks like they're just going straight for the Nexus. If they do that, it's going to force a fight with Dignitas. So they're kind of making a statement right here saying, Dignitas, we don't think you can beat us right now if they go for it, but it seems they're actually transitioning to the bot. They're going to be able to take this this turret. Dignitas isn't in position to get it in time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced that Dignitas can beat CLG at this point either. With the tankiness and then the damage on Vayne, it's going to be really hard for them to take. And this is kind of one of the styles that we see out of the Korean play, but also out of CLG now, is you have Vayne sitting in the back, and then you just have tons of tanky CC out in the front, just absorbing the damage, just distracting the team while Vayne cleans up. And they definitely have the comp to do that with the Oriana ult to kind of gather everyone together, and just the tankiness of Chowster and Hotshot on those tanky champions. It's going to allow Vayne to really just run rampant.
And this is very interesting. CLG, they're sitting off. They might try and pick someone off, but it could almost turn into a base race situation. If Dignitas caught wind of where they were and went mid, then CLG would potentially go for their base as well. But they do back off. They come back mid. The Baron is up. So they want to make sure they get that Baron pressure. Both teams, that's going to be the focus now. And it'll probably result in a couple-minute kind of standoff where neither team's really able to take any advantage. But it's going to be interesting. The long-range initiation advantages Dignitas. So they kind of can control the tempo of the game right here. They get to decide if they pick someone off with Patoy, that they can then go in. And this is a really scary spot. They know they're going after Baron. There is the ward in there, but Patoy almost could have gotten the hook onto Lulu, and that would have been brutal for CLG.
Sure would. Dignitas a little bit in pursuit. They have a lot of abilities that can catch enemy champions out of position and really burn them down quick. So we'll see if they can get that. It becomes a 4v5 and Baron is theirs for the taking. So really we'll see how they manage that. Blitzcrank offers a lot in terms of Baron control.
Dignitas, they're forcing the fight. They're rushing it, and CLG, they're coming down. They're going to catch them just in time. The hookback doesn't hit, but Patoy, he lands his. Hotshot, he's too tanky for them, though. They don't get quite enough damage. But Dignitas, everyone's looking healthy, so even though they wore down Hotshot down to half, they're all still in a good situation. Patoy, he took a little bit of damage, but they're still ready to fight.
And Dignitas just shifting around to the back. We'll see if they can catch out CLG. I don't know who's going to win. Both teams are looking pretty strong right now. If I was Dignitas, I wouldn't want to fight head-on against CLG because of their tankiness. And it looks like they're just getting in position to cut them off. And looks like just to take this inhib in a little bit of a lead.
They're forcing the inhib. The issue is Dignitas has to fight now. They're in CLG's base. They don't have the room to escape. So if they get out of position, if CLG forces a fight, then Dignitas, they just have to outright fight them. But there's a massive wave coming in. Dignitas could start pushing down the Nexus with those minions. And CLG, they have to fight it now. They have to go in on Dignitas or else they're going to lose the game.
Oh my gosh, and this is really intense. Chowster with that shield. One of the tower goes down, and here they go.
Crumbs, he's in a dangerous situation here, but he hooks a couple of them into him, but there's no pressure on Doublelift. Doublelift has that GA now. Cutie Pie dropping immediately has the GA, but this is terrible for Dignitas. But Scar jumping in the backline uses that Zonia's, but there's no follow-up from his team. He actually gets onto Hotshot to try and get out of there, but Hotshot takes down Cutie Pie. Then Scar goes down as well. It's a 5v3 situation for CLG. So Dignitas trying to force the fight, and there was the concern. They could force the fight on the Nexus, but they have nowhere to escape if CLG comes in and if the initiation isn't perfect. And so they weren't able to get that initiation onto Doublelift, and now CLG can push into their base, take an inhibitor, and it's going to be scary to see what else they're going to take.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll move right over to Baron and try to take that too, but CLG in a great position now. Dignitas risked a lot to take that tower down, and it cost them. It cost them the damage of their 2 carries, and that's going to put them way behind and put CLG in a position to take this down.
CLG wants to end the game right here. They have the shield from Hotshot. Hecarim, he tries to force the fight, but can Dignitas turn this around? There's the hook in from Crumbs. They're all fairly low. The Crumbs ultimate is down, though. He won't be able to use it on Doublelift, and Doublelift is taking out that turret quickly. Patoy with the hook on the Doublelift. He's in a dangerous spot, but the Lulu ultimate helps him out. Crumbs goes down. CLG is going to win this. Doublelift taking down Dominate as well. This is it. Game number 2 goes to CLG. They take down the Nexus. They just bullied them around. One last hook from Patoy won't matter because that game is for CLG, and the Vayne wins it in the end. The series is evened up to 1-1, despite the fact that Dignitas was dominating them early on in the game again, and were able to put on a lot of pressure around the 15-minute mark.
Yeah, and it really came down to, can they stop Doublelift? And the answer to that is no. They could not stop Doublelift in that game. He ran rampant, and he just carried him hard. And so good on CLG, and that means...
But even with how strong Doublelift was, the rest of CLG,
they all played well.
That they gave him,
yeah.
Doublelift or Big Fat hitting the perfect ultimates a lot of times. Yeah. Hotshot and Chowster zoning off the entire team of Dignitas, not allowing them to get in that back line. And then Loco Doco with the support, hitting the right polymorphs when he could and getting the Lulu ultimate.
This means that the team is coming down to one game to decide who is coming to IPL5. One single game between CLG and Dignitas. I'm excited to check it out. I'm sure you guys are excited to check it out. Make sure you add us on Twitter. Tell us who you think is going to win. Right now, I'm thinking CLG is pretty strong. If they get Vayne, I think that's the big thing. Well, we're going to see a Vayne ban for sure.
We had seen CLG start to put on early aggression in previous matches.
Yeah.
Yesterday in particular against Quantic and AL. But Dignitas, they've been the aggressors early on in the game. I'm curious if that's going to change maybe into game number 3.
Yeah.
I have to imagine Dignitas, they're not going to allow Doublelift to get Vayne. I'm guessing that the Vayne pick might be out of there.
Yeah.
However, if Vayne is gone,
then they could go with the Caitlyn. And Doublelift really likes that Caitlyn pick. And then with the Caitlyn, they want to go with an aggressive comp and just bully around Dignitas. The question is, how comfortable are they with that? Because they know that Caitlyn isn't necessarily the strongest AD later in the game. She's a single target DPSer. So the concern is, if they don't, are they comfortable enough? They against Quantic and AL, that's one thing. They're like, this is CLG that you're talking about here.
Yeah.
They know, all right, guys, we should be able to beat Quantic and AL. Let's go out and abuse them, and that's what they did in some of those games. But against Dignitas, this is the real deal here. Do they think that they can run those aggressive strategies, or do they sit back and rest on this defensive play?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it really comes down to Vayne. If they get Vayne, they can sit back, play it slow, and just let Vayne get huge, and then use her amazing damage and Doublelift's ridiculous mechanics to carry them through the late game. If they don't get it, I expect a lot of early aggression. I think it really relies on the comp. Will Big Fat LP get Diana? Can they do the lane swap? Can they do those early tower dives? I guess we're gonna have to wait and find out.
We'll be right back. It's going to be a short commercial break, but we'll be right back after these ads for game number 3, CLG and Dignitas for this IPL5.